All right. Hello and welcome to another cool episode of Another Cool Rock Podcast. I'm your host, Steve, back with another conversation with someone who rocks, and that's Marc Hansen. Marc is the lead singer and guitarist with Electric Mud, an award-winning rock band out of San Diego that mixes a classic rock vibe and Americana with a lot of soul, groove, and attitude. Their influences include the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, Otis Redding, and Tom Petty, among others. They are very cool, and they look cool too. First time I saw their photos at their website, electricmudofficial.com, I thought they looked like a bar band from an episode of Sons of Anarchy. They've got 3 albums under their belts: Dangerous Promises, Highway Refugees, and Communication, and have recently put out 2 new songs, Moon Junkie and Heart Beats On, the latter being an absolute gem, an absolute earworm that I've played nearly every day for about the last 2 months. Oh, and they opened for the Rolling Stones last year too in Arizona. Marc also does solo music too, releasing an awesome album back in the summer called Jack of Diamonds. That album leans more in an Americana and outlaw country direction and is also really soulful. Jack of Diamonds is one of my favorite albums of the year, chock full of personal songs that stick with you, like Price to Pay, which has a killer riff and serious vibe and attitude. I was already a fan of Electric Mud and Marc, and now even more so after talking with him, learning about how the band formed in Staten Island, New York, went on hiatus, and then reformed while Marc and his brother Matty, who was a drummer, were in the U.S. Navy. We spoke on Veterans Day, so not only was it timely to talk to a vet about that, but also because that day Marc released a new song, Time for Leaving, that's inspired by his time in the Navy and what many veterans go through. We talk about all that and more coming up. And of course, you know the assignment. Right after this episode, immediately go to electricmudofficial.com, the band's Facebook or Instagram pages to follow them, and your favorite digital music provider to check their music out. Enjoy the conversation and enjoy their music. All right, Marc, thank you for coming on the podcast. Got a lot to talk about here. I'm a big fan. You and your brother originally started Electric Mud in New York, and then you both joined the Navy. As it's Veterans Day, I figured we'd start there, especially as you're joining the Navy, put Electric Mud on hiatus. Yeah. But that was also the catalyst on relaunching the band. How did that all come about?
We grew up in Staten Island, and I started playing guitar a little later. I was just a big music fan. I started playing towards the end of high school. He was a freshman in high school while I was a senior in high school. So he started playing drums in high school. He even played in some bands with some of his buddies. Those guys, actually, 2 of those guys became the original members with us when we formed Electric Mud. Just came out of jamming. But we had this connection with him on drums and me on guitar, and we recognized that. And so we started playing there while I was in college, and then we both had wanted to go into the military. So we were just having a good time, playing a lot of shows, writing songs, like figuring that out. That came early in the process for us. And yeah, I guess we both wanted that and did our time in the military. I went on to we both went into buds. My brother got injured a few times. I actually went back in. By the time I came back, I went into the SEAL teams. And
wow,
by the time I came back from my first deployment, he was going in for the last time to try and make it. And I mean, he was getting busted up. He's a big boy. His legs were getting beat, stress fractures, and didn't pass the last time. So when I got back from my deployment, I said, "Hey, dude, don't worry about it. We got other things. I'm getting out when my time is up." Because I was obligated to 6 years. You know, you make it through training, you're obligated to do 6 years total. And I said, I'm going to get out and we're just going to rock and roll. So that was, that's how it came back. But by that point, the other guys we played with, now we had played shows. We kept the dream alive while we were in the military. We would go home, we'd play gigs, we'd fly them out to San Diego, we'd play gigs. But they were on to other bands and moving on. One guy joined the band in LA, a pop band called Kitten. So we had met another dude, Colton, in the military, and then my cousin came out and joined us, and so that reformed the band. The other two guys changed, but me and my brother were still there. We kept the name, and then we
in San
started putting out
Diego.
music. Yeah, so we reformed, you know, going for it out of San Diego.
That's awesome. So 2017, the first album comes out, Dangerous Promises. Your second album, Highway Refugees, comes out in 2019. And when I listen to Electric Mud, I hear some really cool influences, Rolling Stones, Tom Petty. I know you mentioned Dylan before we started recording. And what I hear most of all is this real authenticity. I'm not good at describing bands, I mean, you can call it rootsy. To me, it's great rock and roll.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that. That's great.
and I can all of your albums, they sound really fun. There's a loose sound to it. And so I'm assuming when you guys write and then you're recording, are you all in the same room together? It just comes across just even on Spotify, very
Yeah.
natural and very organic and just a lot of fun.
We've always, all the albums we've made, every single, all the Marc Hansen stuff too. It starts with a live band. Basic tracks are there. Electric Mud, those were very live. The vocals on the Electric Mud stuff was all overdubbed after. So you get the live track, and all three of those were cut in Oregon. There's a really cool dude up there at this place called Red Lantern Studios. I don't know if it still exists. Up between 2016 and 2019, we would go up there and we'd spend a week and we just cut all the tracks. So prep a little bit, and then we go up there and cut the live tracks. If we had extra time, then we'd lay down some vocals or some extra instrumentation if we want to lay down some piano or call in a pedal steel guy. We always try to have a little pedal steel. Love that pedal steel. But
Yeah.
and then we'd come back to San Diego and we'd work on it here at this a couple different places actually for those albums. But here in San Diego, we do overdubs, mixing, and then that's it.
So 2020 Communication comes out, your third album, and I throw the word evolution around a lot, but I can hear just it's Electric Mud through and through, but I can hear how your sound kind of evolved songwriting wise. I mean, is that fair to say? I would imagine you've grown as a songwriter. You guys are all getting better at your craft. Playing live as well certainly adds to that equation. I would bet playing with your brother too. I mean, there's like a telepathy there, right? I mean,
Yeah. There's nothing better to me than when I could get in a groove with my brother musically. That's where I love to be. But yeah, I appreciate that you say that about the albums, going from those albums, seeing a progression. I do, especially these days, because Communication, right? The last full album we put out was 2020. So that's 5 years ago now. We have a lot of songs from even before Dangerous Promises, like I said, from when we would started out in New York, and we would always do
oh
these
wow.
sessions, and that stuff was very live and spontaneous. And we do 3 days, and we'd cut like, I don't know, seven, eight, nine, 10 songs, and lay down the vocals right there. And it was like a bottle of Jack Daniels and two packs of cigarettes, and we're in and we're out, and we got these songs. And I listen to those a lot of times. They're not out there, right? Those songs. And I think that's some of the best stuff that I ever wrote, that we ever did. But sometimes I look at the later stuff and I'm like, thought too much about it. But I think at this point, I've gotten a little past the think too much about it. And now I've gotten a little bit
Hmm.
more mature in it, where I could let go a little bit more. But Communication feels a little uptight. I think my brother would say the same. I think the band would say,
Really?
but that's I know what went into
Really?
it. So I think, anyone
Right.
anyone listening to this or whatever or I don't know if you've made music, but I think anyone can
Yeah.
relate to that. Like, what went into it, and maybe other people have a different perspective on it. So.
Right. And I suppose there's a real musical hindsight. Hindsight is 2020. I mean, you go back and maybe think, okay, I could have done that differently. Or
Yeah.
if I knew then what I know now, what would I put into that song recording wise? I mean, a lot of it's timing and there's an immediacy to that, I would imagine.
Yeah. That's why when we were just talking about Paul McCartney, I listen to that stuff and I want to cry. Like, how the hell does this guy just, lay this down year after year? It's like that's
Right.
genius.
Effortlessly.
Yeah, best of the
Yeah.
best right there.
So you guys are in San Diego. You've won numerous awards. It looks like you got a following down there. But then I saw you guys opened for the Rolling Stones last year. Was that in Arizona?
Yeah. Yep.
How did that happen? I was watching videos on YouTube. It's on your YouTube channel. And by the way, in the show notes, I'll have your YouTube channel in there and where everybody can find you, make sure
Oh,
everybody can
cool.
find you. But it looked like you guys were having a hell of a lot of fun on stage there. But how
Yeah.
did, a band from San Diego end up opening in a stadium in Arizona for the Rolling Stones?
Yeah, we had a little in and we got our names in the hat. And it actually was a couple of years prior, like 2 years before that. But they weren't on tour, right? They did a tour in 21, and then their next tour was 24 last year.
Right.
21, yeah, 21 into 22, or just the end of 21. But I got a phone call. I work for the military still, and I was out in this area out in the desert where, I had barely any service, and I was working one night, and just like a voicemail comes in because I didn't even get the call because I had no service. Yeah, it's like, hey, the promoters want Electric Mud. And I was just like, so I called it. We hadn't played a gig in a while. We kind of spread out during the COVID time. We were in different areas and we had recorded a little bit together, but we hadn't. Then we played shows in 21 and then we didn't play in 22 or 23. We might have played like one show. We did a couple like private gigs here and there, but hadn't played, hadn't practiced like as a band, rehearsed. So I just called up the boys and I was like, yo, guys, this is what's going on. It sounds like it's going to be Arizona, which is in a month. And are you in? And he was like, oh, what? So I was like, hey, we got to
Who's gonna
rehearse.
say no?
Yeah. But it's like, hey, we got to all get together and we got to be together and drop everything you're doing, drop your job, which a couple guys had full-time jobs, like working every day. It's not like they had to take off and all that. It used to be, back when we were all in San Diego, we had jobs where we could like drop everything and we could practice every day. We practiced 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, and played a show every weekend, multiple shows until we didn't have to do that and we could play once every month and make a bigger show. But we were still practicing every day, and that's what it was like when we were together, but we weren't like that. So we got together and we rehearsed for 8 days straight for that show. And we just like we started with about 15 songs that were in the bag. We knew we had a half-hour set to do, and we just narrowed it down quickly within 2 days. And then we had, 6 songs, and we just went over those and over those. And we try to keep it a little loose enough that it like the solos are usually not canned unless it's like a solo-y part, like a
Right.
riffy solo. We try to keep it loose enough that we can just do things off the cuff. The tempo could change a little bit or whatever. I think we got that kind of thing from the Stones. You leave a lot of room for a spontaneous jam or a song to extend.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
we
can hear
we
that.
had a
There's a
time limit.
looseness.
What's that?
I was gonna say I can hear that in your music. There's that looseness where
Yeah.
it could go some different places. It's not gonna be played the same way every night.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that, and we practiced, and the gig went great. We got great feedback. The head promoter came down, Paul Gongaware, who, I mean, I actually emailed him the other like 2 months ago, the new I don't know how much you like are into the the books that come out on, these rock and roll writers, but Peter Guralnick, who's like I think the greatest writer on rock and roll and roots American music, he did some great work on Elvis Presley. So he just put out a new part of that called The Colonel and the King or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
he mentioned Paul Gongaware in there. This dude was one of the guys right under the Colonel. And so he's the head promoter of this tour the Stones are doing. He comes down, he's like, "Hey man, I had to meet you guys because it's very rare to see a band go from playing clubs and playing bars to getting on a stage at a stadium and doing a kick-ass
Right.
show. And you guys just hit a home run. So, we expect to see you again." That's what he said and whatever. I mean, here we are, we didn't get any more gigs out of that. It was kind of crazy, but um that was just the best thing we ever did. It was like almost like a dream come true. I would say the dream is that you're playing to a stadium
Yeah.
of people who came to see you and sing your songs, but
Right.
it's halfway there.
So I want to come back to what's happening with Electric Mud now, but I want to switch gears for a bit and talk about your solo work because most people probably know your solo work from Electric Mud. I did it backwards. I discovered your album Jack of Diamonds back June or July. It came out in June.
Yeah.
And I
How'd you find that, by
songs
the way?
like Spotify's algorithms knows me very well. It just
Okay.
popped up, and as soon as Price to Pay showed up, and I'm telling you, that song just hit me so hard. That song and Nothing Like It Used to Be, the whole album has just been in my heavy rotation. I'm playing it for my wife all the time. I mean, it's great in the car, it's great in the gym. I
Oh
mean, I
man,
absolutely
love it.
I love that record. And going back and discovering Electric Mud after discovering your solo music first, you've got a lot more going on in the solo stuff musically. I mean, I hear keyboards, pedal steel. There's elements of some outlaw country in there. And it's also really soulful. I mean, it sounds like you're really stretching out compared to Electric Mud, and that's not a negative. It just you're letting your artistic
Yeah,
flag fly a little bit more to my ears.
yeah. Yeah, we've learned a lot, and those Electric Mud say albums, although their singles been coming out with Electric Mud recently.
Oh yeah, I'll get to
I,
that.
yeah, we learned a lot and I learned a lot in that. And so when I went to do the solo albums, right, it's like you talked about that progression. I think it's there. And there's things on Jack of Diamond that I'm like, man, like I said, lately I listened to some of my older stuff and I'm like, how do I get back there? Because there's a there's like an ease and a confidence and good songs, like fun songs that I want some more of that. But Jack of Diamonds had it. Yeah, it's a different band, and these are session guys, right? So you get in there and they don't know the songs, and they gotta lay it down quick, and that's what they do. So, and two of those guys have played with the Black Crows. The guitarist in there, who's some of us, a lot of it, the guitar is me, and a lot of the overdubs is me, but the really ripping stuff, which you could tell, is this other dude, and him and the keyboard player doing all the keys. They both play with the Black Crows. The musician who plays the drums brought them in, and these guys just, I threw them the songs and they could rip. But then we recorded all those tracks in about six of those songs anyway, the bulk of the album were recorded in 3 days. And then I took some songs that I had done with my brother and some of the Electric Mud members and those songs. And then I worked on them for like a year. I was working on them, yeah, before the Stone show. And I just went in there and this
Wow.
producer, Steve Churchyard, who got his start working with Paul McCartney on the London Town album. Steve Churchyard was super, super huge on that album. So I learned a lot from him. and we're doing it together with the engineer Alan Sanderson here in San Diego. So the three of us kind of just kept getting together, doing overdubs, mixing, adding sounds, and tried to step the sound up from True Believer, the album before. And yeah, in a lot of ways, I think it is. I think it's got this cool, there's a lot of different sounds and whatnot, but and this happened, a lot of this stuff happened in the mastering process. I didn't like the masters that came back at first, but some of it might sound a little over processed to me. But here I am going negative
Hmm.
again. I
No, well, let me go positive on it because I don't compare it to Electric Mud, but that's knowing that music. I
yeah,
mean, it's to me, there's real differentiation there. There's Marc Hansen solo stuff, just there's Electric Mud, and Jack of Diamonds to me sounds a bit more personal. It's definitely a bit more intimate. There's a lot more instruments on most of those
yeah,
songs, and I just, man, I'm telling you, that's been one of my that's been one of my most played albums this year.
that's great. I love that. Yeah, it's
I
it's
dig
an
it.
interesting thing
So,
when you live with it live and raw, and then you don't want it to be that. You have a vision for it, but then you get it over there and you're like you gain things and you lose things along the way, and your perspective on it is just very, very close to the track as the as the artist, I guess. But um, that's the hope is that like I put in all that work and hope you hear it, so you hear it and it touches you and you recognize it, and that's what it's for. The hopes that someone else like can touch this vibe and feel it, and so I appreciate it.
right, make that connection.
Yeah.
So Jack of Diamonds is out. I'm digging that. And I wake up just this morning to a brand new song, Time for
Oh,
Leaving, in
yeah.
my Spotify feed. And I'm thinking, I'm listening to the lyrics, and it just happens to come out the same day you and I are talking, but it's also Veterans Day. I listen to those lyrics. The name of the song, is there a connection there? Was that by design? What's the genesis of that song?
As far when you say the connection to the t the lyrics and the Veterans Day, what do
Well,
you
yeah, I'm just wondering. I mean, is that does that time for leaving, does that harken back to experiences from leaving to go in the Navy or anything, or is it just my ears and it's just a coincidence that it came out today on a Tuesday on Veterans
No,
on
no,
Veterans
I
Day?
did pick Veterans Day. Yeah. So there is a
Okay,
connection, but the connection is the song is actually, about there's a lot of suicide in vets, a lot of vets.
right,
It's a huge issue. And I have a friend who was a SEAL and he went to UCLA film school. And one of his like final film project, I think it was, really did a really great film. And it is on veteran suicide. And he asked me to do a song for it. The movie ends, the credits roll, and my song plays. So I recorded it for him up there at UCLA, and I said, "Yeah, do what you want with it." So he took it into his own hands, and he had his composer mess with it, and they did it. But it's not like the song that I was doing, and I didn't really even like produce it in that way. I just laid down the stuff and gave it to him. So I was like, I want to do that song.
right,
So yeah, the lyrics are pretty, it's pretty raw, I guess, if you pick up on that. But I guess I just wrote from that perspective of like what does someone feel like that's going down that road, and then also like that's my friend. So what I'm letting them know that I'm understanding what they're feeling, but it's kind of from the point of view like I'm not sure they obviously went down that road, so I wish I could tell them I love
right.
them. I wish I could tell them I wish I could have prevented it. So
Yeah,
anyway, that's
no
the
doubt.
message of it. I actually recorded it in Nashville. My brother on drums. We took a little road trip from New Orleans up through the Delta in June, and this great road trip. We visited Robert Johnson's grave. We visited, Clarksdale. We visited Muddy Water, the plantation where Muddy Waters was born. This is all the roots of, what I
Man,
listened
that's
to.
awesome.
Yeah, it was. We went up to Memphis. We visited all the studios in Memphis, Sun, American, Stax, Graceland, went to Tupelo to see Elvis's birth site, and then we ended in Nashville and we did a day of recording. So that was one of the tracks. That's all live there. I just came back here, mixed it again here in with Alan Sanderson in San Diego, and added some percussion to it, and pretty much left it, added some reverb and whatnot. But the vocals live, the whole take's live. I think the
It,
piano player just
it's a great song.
yeah, I appreciate that.
It's a,
I'm happy with
yeah,
it.
very very personal.
Yeah,
Cool. So forgive me, forgive me for jumping around here, but I want to get back to Electric Mud. No
sure.
sooner do I get blown away by your solo stuff, but two new Electric Mud songs drop, Heartbeats On and Moon Junkie. And Heartbeats On in particular, I don't want to go overboard without a life raft here, but that song is an instant mood enhancer, man. It never fails to put a smile on my face.
I
That
appreciate it.
song just puts me in a great freaking mood every time.
Going where the southern cross the dawn, then down to Louisiana's cool my bones. They say the honky tonk just rolls right on. Get me to the river, see me gone. And my heart beats on like a pounding drum. Gonna sing my song. Yes, sing my song. Yeah, the honky tonk just rolls right on.
I do like
So
that
I
one.
gotta ask, are those two tracks a preview of a new Electric Mud album coming? Are you working on something new? Is there gonna be another album coming in 2026?
So we always were like into albums, but as you know, and as you can see, like we hit a road bump at COVID and keeping it going. There was a break there. That's when I did the
Right.
first solo album. But we came back together, um, well, around that Stone show. We spent the summer doing gigs last year and also recording. So we recorded a bunch of tracks, but decided rather than us trying to get together and trying to work out an album, you know, a lot of this to try and get heard, there's the algorithms and all this. So we're trying to do it a little differently now and just kind of tap into it, release a single every every 4 to 6 weeks or every 2 months, Um, so we have singles. Um, we kind of kicked it off there with Heartbeats On, and then I released my album. My brother released some songs too. My brother puts stuff out, and a lot of that is us playing together in different forms. But he goes puts stuff out under the name Bach Chevy. He released some stuff, and so now with Moon Junkie, it kicked off this cycle. And I'm doing the same with Marc Hansen now too. So I put that single out. So I'll have there'll be an Electric Mud single next week, the end of next week. And
All
then
right.
yeah, and then in January there'll be a Marc Hansen and Electric Mud single again. and then after that, I have two more lined up. So I have at least January to March lined up right now. There's a couple other things in the works in the mixing and overdub that will take it into the spring. After that, or by that point, I hope that we'll have gotten together to record more. And it always just looks like, well, how much time we got? Like, do we have enough time that we can lay down an album, or
Right.
do we have enough time that we just lay down what we can and then we work on that and spit it out as singles? Because and if an Electric Mud scenario doesn't happen, then that's when, all right, well, I'll find some players and I'll produce some Marc Hansen stuff, and then that's what you would see. I just started an executive MBA program at USC in LA.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's been interesting. So I just kicked that off. So I'll be doing that for the next, almost 2 years. But that's these executive programs, they go every other week. So it's for people who can, so you can work
Right.
and still get that network and that learning experience in. So I'm trying to find the time in there.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I think it's I'd rather hear new music from you and Electric Mud every couple weeks, but a couple times a month, and have to wait 6 to 8 months to hear a
Yeah,
bunch of songs in
there you
one
go.
shot. So I love that. I'd rather hear more now than have to wait.
If I could keep it coming, then that'll be good. I feel like it's exciting because it's different. We wanted Our goal early on was like, we want to put an album out every year. That's also, it's time and money. And when you're funding it yourself and you're also trying to take other opportunities along the way, it is not easy to put an album out every year, especially if you're getting to a production level where you're like, oh, I gotta keep doing it this way, or I gotta like do it better. It's not easy, but we were doing every other year, and now it is what it is. This is different. This is singles, putting out singles. Let's see what happens with this. See how we
Yeah.
could sustain this. And
Right on. Are there going to be more tour dates, more shows coming up?
yeah, we haven't put anything. We played some private gigs this year. We didn't we pushed pretty good last year. So this year we were kind of like, all right, let's work on these songs. Me and Matt, my brother Matty, were working on the songs in the spring. Then he went to Nashville. After we did that trip, he moved to Nashville. He's like, I gotta be here. So he took his GI Bill and he's doing a 1 year program on studio engineering in Nashville at the moment. So he's there. Colton, the guitarist, the other guitarist, is a lineman, and he's in Santa Cruz. So he's working like a dog up there. Um, and my brother-in-law on bass, Matt Serena, he lives in Montana, and he's a music therapist, and he's got two kids now. So, but he does music therapy, and he'll work with vets and first responders, and he'll bring them in the recording studio, and he'll move around to different parts of the country, and he'll do that. So we're kind of like, hey, let's see what happens with this when we can get together. We cut some songs. I'm always writing. I've always got some stuff to lay down. That's what comes in. If
Sure.
it gets too much and I gotta let this bag loose, then it's either is Electric Mud around, or do I have to go find a place to offload this? That's kind of where it's at.
Right. You got to make music somehow, some way.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of a good problem to have.
yeah. It's not bad.
Very cool. Well, Mark, I really appreciate the time, man. Everybody can find you at electricmudofficial.com and at social media,
Yep.
and find your music at all the streaming sites. Obviously, I found it on Spotify, but can find it everywhere else. And I think you
Yep.
got some merch, some other stuff on
Yeah, we
the
got
Electric
merch
Mud
on there.
website.
Nice comfy shirts. Always working on new designs, putting
Cool.
them up there.
Very cool. Well, cool, man. Well, listen, thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. It's been apologies for the latency stuff. I will hopefully fix that in the mix.
No,
I
you're good.
don't know what
Yeah.
the hell the story is with that.
It's good talking to you, Steve. Yeah. I, w-
Cool.
I'd love to meet up with you
Yeah,
sometime
thank you.
and hear more about, your musical journey and your interests there.